But this one, I actually went to Google and said, what is the number one Salesforce question typed into Google? So the answer is the difference between a trigger and a workflow. So I am going to answer that question for everybody. So anyway, just dropping knowledge bombs everywhere. Boom, boom.
Sorry to interrupt
myself and you and I on this adventure to learn something new. But I just needed to stop us for a second and say, if you love this content and if you found it helpful, I have an entire collection of awesome stuff that if you stick around to the end of this video, I'll tell you exactly how to gain access to that. It's basically just stuff I can't share on YouTube. There's a ton of free asset downloads as well as some thought exercises to help you optimize your Salesforce CRM. Now, back to our regularly scheduled programming. Welcome back to another episode of Sales to the Force. My name is Alyssa Schaefer, and if you are new to this channel, welcome. I am here on a mission to bring Salesforce consulting experience to the mainstream, knowledge base. Let's just say that equally, somebody who's new to Salesforce consulting feels totally overwhelmed by the whole aspect of going into a room and giving somebody Salesforce advice when you're like, let's not tell them it's my first time. And then also folks who are like, Salesforce sucks, my users hate Salesforce. How do I help myself, which is investing in a Salesforce consultant? So since not all Salesforce consultants are created equal, I am hoping to help you bridge the gap on how to find the right fit for you. Because guess what? I always use my bartending example, but I was a bartender for a decade, and I can promise you that not all bartenders are created equal. We all may have learned the same recipes, but how we all pour the stuff out, very different and unique. And two people doing the exact same thing, I think everybody recognizes that if I gave 10 people a recipe and said, here, cook this, it's a recipe. It has instructions. It also has measurements, but I guarantee you that not everybody's going to come out with the same solution, or meal. So, just with that being said, it's immensely imperative to me to help bridge that gap between the folks that are helping find the solutions and the people that need the solutions themselves. So, I also would like to add in the disclaimer that I am an employee of a company where I am a Salesforce consultant, and this whole channel and all these videos that I'm making are separate from that job because I am trying to, I've always enjoyed being the wizard behind the curtain. I've always enjoyed just being the person that just spits out solutions and not having to be the person like this, having this conversation. But I have found this is so needed. So here I am with my fancy microphone. Actually, it's not that fancy. It was like $30. So anybody on YouTube sitting there going, wow, podcasters are so cool. Look at their microphone. It was $30. So anyway, just dropping knowledge bombs everywhere. Boom, boom. So anyway, I actually have made quite a few videos, and if you've watched any of them, you're going to notice I'm in the same clothes because I am on a mission. I am on a mission to make these videos to help everybody understand, and I'm going to continue building up this channel through not only all of the experience I've had over the last decade, being a Salesforce consultant, now being a senior one, but also just helpful tips and tricks. So I will link to a few different videos in the description of things, and I'm also, as I share this information, they naturally come up because the things that I'm making videos on are questions that I'm asked pretty regularly. So why answer them 27,000 different times in all these individual circumstances when I can just answer it once? You can find out the answer and use that to go make better decisions, especially when it comes to Salesforce. So, I have already made 5 or 6 videos, but this one, I actually went to Google and said, what is the number one Salesforce question typed into Google? And I found an answer. So the answer is the difference between a trigger and a workflow. So I am going to answer that question for everybody because it's actually very simple and it's how you think about things. So I'm actually going to use the analogy of a gun. So I am not trying to make anybody uncomfortable, but I am also hoping that by using such a maybe a violent type solution, that everybody understands the difference. Because when you're talking about a trigger, also the word trigger is kind of makes me think of a gun anyway. A trigger versus a workflow. So, very simply put, a trigger would be when your finger actually pulls the trigger to shoot the bullet, right? When you're using a gun, a trigger is literally when your finger pulls the trigger. Now, I'm going to translate this into what that means for Salesforce, but I want you first to understand the difference between the trigger and the workflow. So, the trigger is the action of you pulling the trigger, and the workflow is the bullet that is shot out, right? So, the difference between a trigger and a workflow, very simply from that analogy, is the trigger is the cause and the workflow is the effect. So, with that being said, I am hoping that this video will help not only Salesforce consultants understand what they are actually consulting about, but also people who are shopping for Salesforce consultants to understand that unless your Salesforce consultant is explaining things to you in these terms, I can promise you with that technobabble, you're going to be more confused than you started out with. So let's now take this trigger workflow example and apply it to some sort of circumstance within Salesforce itself. So if you are a person who, so for instance, I will actually use, I never named the company that I work for, but I'm going to use one of their workflows as an example. So when we sell things, so like for instance, when we sell consulting projects or consulting support packages, the different types of products that we sell, what happens in our Salesforce, because we do use the product that we talk about all the time. So what happens is when an opportunity is marked closed won, that is the trigger. So when this happens, so when that person pulls the trigger and it is marked closed won, then what happens, the bullet, is that a contract is automatically created. And based on, because I built this, based on all of the information from that opportunity, that is then applied to the contract so that, from sales to service, that's as streamlined and smooth of a transition that can possibly happen. So here is the deal. In this exact circumstance, the trigger would be the updated status of the opportunity, and the bullet, meaning the workflow, is the creation of the contract. Now, I'm going to add just a little bit of extra information in here, both for the consultants and the consulting side, that Salesforce is going to get rid of workflow rules and process builder. So they are going to get rid of those things and keep only flows. So in the future, all of this stuff, anything that anybody designs is going to be built through flows, whether it's as simple as a field update or as complicated as everything that I just described. So just kind of a note that if you're listening to this terminology, it may not apply in that exact, the terminology may not apply one-to-one in the future because they're going to get rid of process builder and workflow rules. Does that mean that you have to rebuild everything? I would suggest that everybody does, meaning every single person, every time Salesforce retires something, you need a consultant to rebuild the new thing. So every single one of you listening to this video, if your entire org is built off of process builders and workflow rules, you're going to be SOL when you go to try to build workflow rules and they've gotten rid of them. So with that being said, this is a video demonstrating the difference between the trigger and the workflow rule. Now, I'm hoping that you guys understand this more as a concept than something literal as because the trigger is identified in either the workflow rule, in the process builder, in the flow. So a trigger itself is the action that causes the reaction. So when I say when you think of the difference between a trigger and a workflow, don't think of just workflow as workflow rules. That is very much short-sighted and not thinking about not only all the ways that the bullets can come out of a gun, because even Like, let's keep my gun analogy. Not only could you shoot one bullet, you could shoot one of those things that sprays all the pellets and stuff. I totally shot a gun like that. I don't know. But it's different, right? Like, so that's the point, is if you're sitting there going, oh, okay, well, now I know the difference, and I'm thinking purely about triggers and only workflow rules on the other end, it's not, you're thinking too short-sighted, you're thinking too close to the cusp. You have to back up, and you have to think, generally speaking, the difference between a trigger and a workflow is the difference between the action, the work action, and the work reaction, meaning what somebody does versus what should happen on the way out. So I hope that this video has served you. I hope that I've helped you understand this a little bit better. I understand also that I use probably 100 words when 20 are necessary, but I am hoping that I got you thinking in a very different way, because guess what? Everybody's gonna come up with a different trigger and a different bullet. If I give 10 different people, 10 different consultants, the same scenario, you're going to get 10 different guns, 10 different triggers, 10 different workflows. And the best solution is going to be very much dependent on the person building the entire process. And so if I can help, for instance, if I can help people who are trying to understand what a Salesforce consultant actually does, if I can help you guys understand what we do, not who should do it, but if you can understand a little bit better of what we even do, then you can make better, more educated decisions on who the right person is to help you get to the other side. So with that being said, if you like this video, like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications, because I have enjoyed immensely bringing this information to the marketplace, and also empowering you guys to really understand this, because I can promise you, and I'll link some of the videos in the description. I can promise you, if you're a new Salesforce consultant, that everybody starts where you are, completely overwhelmed and like, oh my God, it's too much information. Versus, if you're somebody who understands that Salesforce is a really powerful tool that should be able to make you move faster, should be able to help you make better decisions in business. It should be able to help you do all these things. But guess what? If you're trying to drive a car fast, and then your Salesforce consultant builds you a boat, do boats serve as transportation? Yes, but you were trying to drive really fast, so you ultimately needed tires. And something funny is, then in that circumstance, somebody's going to be like, okay, well, we'll just slap on some tires to your boat. True story. I know that you'd have to apply it to a Salesforce circumstance, but I can promise you, I have seen multiple scenarios where that happens. And sometimes if somebody accidentally builds you a boat when you needed a car, the only solution is to put tires on the boat. Otherwise, you have to start from scratch. So I am hoping, by putting these videos out there, that I can save you time, energy, most importantly money, because I have seen the ramifications of somebody building you a boat when you need a car as being tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars down the drain. So if I can save you even a few $1,000, then my mission will be served. So thank you so much for joining me today. If you like this video, like, subscribe, share. Also turn on those notifications, because I can promise you, I will be back. See you on the next one. Hey there, thanks again for watching and joining me on my mission to create some blatantly honest Salesforce consulting content. I'm making this not only for aspiring Salesforce consultants that want to learn what it's like, but also somebody shopping around for a Salesforce consultant. If you want to know what to look for, then you can't miss out on these videos. And if you're also in the boat where you're like, what would it even be like to work with a Salesforce consultant? What could they even provide me? Then all of these videos are for you. And there are a ton of free videos on YouTube. But before you sign up to pay a consultant $30 to $100K to help you along your Salesforce journey, I highly recommend that you gain access to this free Salesforce Captain membership site so that you can be empowered with some information before you're put in that really tough decision that you're going to have to make. As promised, here are the instructions for how you gain access to this free site. I also would like to put in a disclaimer side note that because of the nature of email marketing nowadays, I've started to detest email. So I can promise you that the email you use to sign up for this membership site will only be used for receipts and also for you to be able to manage access to your membership site, like if you have to change your password or something like that. If you want to be notified about each new video that I post on YouTube, then go ahead and subscribe and turn on the notification bell and YouTube will let you know. In this membership site though, there is a way to contact me directly. So the only way to be able to do that is to sign up for a seat in this site. But I have curated some questions. It's a form with some questions on it so that I can get the information I need in order to be able to help someone in this area of expertise. All you have to do is click the link in the description and also in the pinned comments. It is also it's everywhere. I'm not trying to hide it from you. So all you have to do is click that link, put in your preferred email. As stated, I promise that is your email for your stuff. I do not want to talk to you over email, but you can access me in this free membership site, and I'm able to share stuff in this site that I can't share on YouTube. For instance, like the no BS guide to a Salesforce CRM, or the mini course on how to think about automations, understanding automations, and other things along the lines of learning how to be a great system administrator, and not only that, but really how to get the bang for your buck with working with a Salesforce consultant, because I know I don't come cheap. So I would much rather help you know exactly what you need before I am tasked with the assignment of figuring it out. So I really enjoyed making all of these videos for you guys, and I hope that you've got some great value out of it. And I can't wait to see you in the Salesforce Captain membership site. See you there.